Hi, everybody. I'm Elaine Brewster. Welcome to Aspects of Energy, a forum where we talk about ways to raise one's energy. And today we are so excited to have Jacqueline Kane be our guest. Jacqueline actually started out as an X-ray tech, and then she got into massage and it just called to her. And then since then, she has developed really wonderful ways to raise people's energy by helping them to release blockages and to so that they can really become themselves, the best version of themselves. So I would love Jacqueline to tell us, how you do this, how you approach people. She's in Connecticut, I believe, Farmington, Connecticut.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Jacqueline?
Sure. So I had my first massage on a cruise ship with a bunch of friends. And I was just one of those people who was thinking, and I'd be in my head. And even on vacation, we were on a singles cruise. Even on a singles cruise, I'd have a list of things to do. And I just thought everybody did that. I lived in my head without realizing I was living in my head. And I also lived with a lot of fear. So after I had that massage, I was like, I wanted at some point to make a career out of that, because I was so relaxed, and it just blew my mind that anybody could be that relaxed. So I ended up getting married, had a couple kids, and then I was doing mammograms at the time. And the secretary said, I think I'm going to go to massage therapy school. And I said, no, that's my role. That's my dream. So, you know how sometimes people are put in front of you to get you jump started on your soul's purpose. She was mine. So I went to massage therapy school when my kids were extremely young. I went nights and worked in the hospital during the day. It was as you can imagine, tough time. I don't know why we do that. But if you have to go for another career, massage was great, because I was able to get massages a couple times a week. So from there, I just started learning everything I could about healing and the body and what made it tick, what made it work. Because working in the hospital, I saw people coming back and back for one surgery after another. Mm-hmm. And when I worked in the orthopedic X-ray department, the bodies were mutilated, after all that surgery. So when I began my massage therapy, it brought me on a whole new path. So many things opened up. I learned Bowen therapy, which is a neuromuscular repatterning of the body. I took classes on hypnosis and EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping into wealth, ancestral energy, all these things that weren't even talked about in the hospital, weren't even talked about in healing. So as I started getting to know my clients, and I started asking them, why do you come back? Why do you keep coming back to me? And they said, well, we get out of pain. And I was like, great. Oh my God, it's so wonderful to hear that somebody can get out of pain and not just manage your pain. I'm not really sure who came up with the term pain management, but who would ever want to manage your pain, right? Let's get to the root cause and get rid of it. So the more I started working on clients and working on myself at the same time, I was able to experience an ancestral energy clearing. And right before I attended this workshop, I was with my family around Christmas time. And my sister-in-law had just lost her sister and her father and her mother a few years before that. And I said, why don't we just go away to Ireland for Christmas? Why don't we take, my mother-in-law was born there. Why don't we take the in-laws, the kids, the grandkids, everybody, let's just go away and get out of Dodge for the Christmas time. And my in-laws said, nope, we're not going. And I thought, wow, I was surprised that they didn't want to go, but they were just so stuck that they weren't going. I said, okay, it's off the table. Maybe we'll go, maybe we won't. We're not going to talk about it right now. 2 months later, I'm at this conference and he takes us through this ancestral energy clearing and finishes it. Right as he finishes it, a bunch of us get up and we're walking towards the restroom. On my way to the restroom, I had only taken a few steps and my phone started ringing. And it was my son who said, I found an awesome house for 13 of us in Ireland. And I said, honey, that's wonderful, but we're not going. The next text was my husband who said, my parents are on board. We're looking at flights and everybody's on board going to Ireland. I turned around, went right to my teacher and I said, what was that? Because we weren't even in the same state. I was in Texas and they were in Connecticut. So it really got me started in what is ancestral energy? What's the energy that we're carrying that we don't even know we're carrying? And so over the last few years, I've been really using this a lot with my clients and discovering that this ancestral energy, which is the unresolved emotional issues of our ancestors, can keep us in physical pain, emotional pain, debt, can keep us stuck in relationships. And when we clear that, we free it up for our ancestors, whether they're alive or they've already passed, and we free it up for ourselves and our future generations. And life just becomes amazingly magical after that. It's amazing. I've had one woman who she was taking a class with us and she missed the first class, which is where I did the ancestral clearing. Her back pain went away and has not come back. For most people, money shows up, relationships get better. So it's you know, when the smoker stops smoking, right? They want to tell everybody how wonderful it is, how great you're going to feel. So I'm on a mission kind of to help people understand energy, and just like you guys, how beautiful you're all here having this conversation, that there's another way to heal, there's another way to feel better and to take care of ourselves. So that's my story. And I'm putting together a book project. I'm looking for 24 other energy healers who are also on a mission to help educate the world that there's another way. I think we're in a time where people are finally talking about the word energy. People don't really understand it. They think it's woo-woo. And it's time to take the word woo-woo out of healing and have this be our new healthcare system. I know that's a big one, but that's really my dream for this country and for our kids. I think the kids and the grandkids who are being born today are ready. They're looking for something else. They're ready to feel more connected to themselves and to us and to everybody around them. So when we as individuals heal our inner children, the inner child in us, we create a ripple effect out and we attract more people. We give other people permission to be themselves, to be authentically ourselves, because when we're still carrying this energy, we are not authentically ourselves. We are living our lives through that lens of their beliefs, of their conditioning, of their trauma that they never healed. And it can be very painful. It can be very frustrating. It can be frustrating for that person who is living in pain and tries everything and nothing works. Mm-hmm. Or that business owner who tries everything to step out and create a business, but just can't break through it and they don't understand it. And even there's a lot of people that I've worked with cancer. Cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence. Cancer can be a beautiful healing journey when we understand the process. And if more people switch their mindset around it, we can shift the fear that comes up with the word and the fear that comes up with anything, any pandemic, anything that comes through. people can stand in their power and know that they are safe, know that they have the tools to survive, no matter what comes through, no matter what advertisement is on the radio, on the TV. We can put the power back in the people and let them discern what's right for themselves, because we are all different. I had the pleasure of having one of my children who was on the cusp of autism and Asperger's. I never labeled him because I didn't want him to walk around being labeled as being that kind of child. Did that mean I had to live through a lot of behavioral stuff? Yep. Did that mean it caused conflict in my marriage? Yep. On two people who had different viewpoints, and I wanted to do everything I could to advocate for my son? Yep. But to this day, nobody would even think that he was like that. I did find the right naturopath who did some tests and really shifted things in his mind and in his body. And now he's an accountant who loves auditing, and they're amazing individuals if we can look at them that way. Everybody has a gift.
Yeah.
And how can we embrace everybody for who they are and have compassion and say, I want to hear more about you. Tell me your viewpoint, instead of pointing fingers and saying, listen to me. That's not what it's about. So for me, it's about bringing compassion to everybody and helping people heal and discover parts of themselves that they had no idea was inside of them.
You know, this almost surprises me. The energy healers that I know, and so I have a couple of names that I can give you for your project, they are not only really wonderful people who care about their clients, but they're very, very compassionate. I mean, really, really, they're service oriented, wanting to give back. How do I say it? I just find a different group of people, just an extremely loving, benevolent, caring people. And originally, if you had asked me about energy or energy work, I wouldn't have put the two together. You know, to me, I don't know. Anyway, I would love to.
Tell me more about that, because it is hard to explain energy and energy work, and it's hard to explain the processes unless I take you through it, right? So tell me your dilemma with that, and energy and energy
I think
work.
my dilemma comes from religion, and so someone else may come at it from a different angle, but the people in my church and in my religion are just giving and loving and service oriented, service leaders, and they know nothing about energy work. They do think it's woo-woo. And and so then here's people who are doing energy. And see, I'm a singer, and so to me energy is it's high energy. It's standing up in front of 1,000 people. It's a lot of energy. And so the idea of energy and benevolent, I guess in my mind, we're in two different places, and you people bring it all together.
Well, and it is.
I think Bruce is here. Yeah.
Somebody watching.
I'm taking a break. No, I said my video's off.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jack.
There is kind of a disconnect between energy workers and religion. And I try to understand it. So with energy workers, we believe that you have the power inside of yourself to heal, as long as you learn the right tools to heal. And praying is one way, but sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes there's other techniques that can really help. But I find sometimes with religion, there is that definition of, no, God has to heal me. But isn't God inside of us?
Right.
Aren't we all God? Aren't they in me? So can't I heal myself?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of looking outside? And can it be a combination, right? The stronger my faith is, the larger God is inside of me. But faith is one part. Then we have to look at your beliefs and your programming.
Mm-hmm.
That the beliefs and programming inside of you that you've been conditioned from those who took care of you. The programming and the conditioning that's not working for you. And so that kind of takes discernment of, well, where did I come up with that belief? Or the families. So if we go back to the ancestral energy, if you look at the families, those families that say, well, heart condition runs in our family. That's just the way it is, right? Or we all have low back pain, or all of us are not good with money. These are words that we're constantly manifesting more of that situation. So is that something you want to continue to live with and believe? Or do you want to shift that and change that? And so that's where everybody has to look at their own life. What in your life is not working? What in your life would you like to shift? And can you look at the energy? When you talk about energy and religion, there is a disconnect there, and I don't quite understand it. I'd like to have more conversations about it because I think it gets in the way. Yeah. And sometimes it can be an excuse, which is part of our saboteur, to not really heal, to not really be that person who is pain-free, who has control over her wealth, who knows, is powerful enough where she's setting really good boundaries. And I think that's more of what it is. It could be our inner saboteur saying, well, I can't be that person. I can't be all I'm supposed to be because of my religion. I find sometimes that can hold us back.
One topic here that we need to discuss because it's overlooked, and that's food.
Food's another one. Yep.
If you look at all the great leaders, whether it's Christ or Buddha or whomever you worship, check what they ate. It's interesting what they ate. They didn't eat flesh. They didn't have food that was cooked. They ate food from the ground. Mm-hmm. And so why aren't we following the masters in that regard? Interesting. Religion doesn't bring food up. Nor does our healthcare system bring food up.
Correct.
So the beginning of everything is what you put in your body. Mm-hmm. So if you're manifesting some problems, check out what you're eating. Mm-hmm. Simple, isn't it? But you tell me any commercial that you see on television that advertises broccoli, right? Or potatoes. Or yams. There's no advertising that you ever see promoting stuff that grows in the ground. Why is that?
We're drinking water, right? And if we drink water, that's another thing, a simple, free thing that can help us get out of pain, sleep better. Mm. Many of us are dehydrated. Doctors don't talk about that.
No,
No.
Most of your energy is after you eat. Most of your energy is taken up into processing what you just ate. Mm-hmm. So people are losing gobs of energy trying to process something that's not it can't be
processable. That's right.
So I think I just sent a whole pile of stuff to Elaine, and she's getting her nose into this. But it is exciting, isn't it, Elaine?
Very exciting.
Yeah. And it's a simple damn thing to do. Just eat stuff that grows in the ground.
That's right. And-
Well, we think it's easy, but sometimes that's a mind shift. It's getting somebody to completely change what they're programmed.
Mm,
Well, if you've got a tap on the shoulder, some people get a little tap, some people get a big tap on the shoulder. I've had 3 heart attacks and 5 stents, so I've been tapped on the shoulder a couple of times. So you suddenly wake up and say, okay, you know, my naturopath is not helping me, my doctor is not helping me,
mm.
my acupuncture is not helping me. You know, I gotta look around and see what else to look at. And I decided to go to a place called, and this is Optimum Health Institute in San Diego, right? Elaine, you know about that through Nikan.
Yeah.
So I've been there 3 times, and all they feed you is raw food or sometimes steamed food, but it's all stuff that grows in the ground. And after 4 or 5 days of the Optimum Health, I'm 10 feet tall and bulletproof, you know? So I woke up, and my venture started about 6 years ago on whole food, plant-based eating. And I must tell you, 10 feet tall and bulletproof, it's a wonderful feeling. So yeah, take a look at it. It's whole food, plant-based food. You can Google it. You can find tons of stuff on YouTube, but take the adventure that Elaine and I are on. It's an amazing adventure, and as you get more into it, it becomes more exciting.
Well, and I think that a bunch of us remember something that friend Dave Johnson said. He said, do you know what they called organic food 50 years ago? Food.
That's good.
You know, it's as soon as we get this snow gone, we've got about 8 inches out there.
Right.
You know, I can start raising some peas and some lettuce and some early things. And I got myself a grow box last year so that I don't have to dig down, you know, in this clay soil that I've got here, and so I can start raising food, which we call organic food now.
Right. And I think where you are, you can get stuff that grows in the ground right from your grocer. I assume you have
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that stuff. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
not hard to get. And if you look at the grocery bill, you know, weigh that against sirloin steak or whatever.
Oh wow.
Well, what a difference, eh?
Oh wow. $20 instead of $50.
Yeah.
Talk about money coming your way, Jacqueline.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a
So-
question for you, Jacqueline.
Yeah.
You talk about this shift, and that's what Bruce is talking about, is a shift in dietary habits. Do you ever have people, well, I bet you do. Do you ever have people that come to you and you very gently suggest, you know, some of these ways that they could change and they just plain don't want to?
Yeah. I have one woman, she's 80 years old. She's like my ambassador. And she's had 9 surgeries. And like I said, she's 80 years old. So it's hard for her to change her diet.
Mm.
But we've been working together on her pain with looking at the energy, looking at the ancestral energy. And over the last few years, she's been able to lose 25 pounds. She's able to get out of pain.
Mm.
She grows her own food. She grows a lot she's a farmer herself. So she's an amazing, tough lady. But it's, you know, she's conditioned some meat, some potatoes, some veggies. That's even, I'm married to an Irish guy, meat and potatoes all the way, right? So some people take on that journey of changing their diet and completely changing it and making it work for them. And other people, they're not so sure about doing that. For them, it's too hard to do. And that's their own limitations. You know, and like you said, Bruce, you know, a few heart attacks, I think that would make anybody make a really big shift in their food. And that's how you're doing your healing process. I have another woman who, she's young. She went through a cancer situation and she changed her diet, so much so that she's even opening up a restaurant this year, promoting really good, healthy food. So whatever it is that's getting you to make that shift, sometimes that becomes your gift. But I know that when we clear the energy, sometimes people don't have to make a big shift in their food or a big lifestyle shift to get the results.
A question ask all of you. Is there any health professional that you know of that has a degree in whole food, plant-based nutrition? Anybody you know that's a nutritionist that has a degree in whole food, plant-based nutrition? There isn't anybody.
There is one lady, and I can't think of her name. She's over at my local university here in Provo, Brigham Young University. I actually tried to get a hold of her and just never could for one of my programs. But yeah, she teaches whole foods, plant-based. But, you know, she's one of a kind.
That's right. I
Not
mean,
many out there.
if you go to a nutritionalist, and I do from time to time, they're going to sell me a nutraceutical. That is a vitamin A, a vitamin B, whatever's in that bottle is a pharmaceutical disguised as a vitamin. So yeah, I take vitamin D, but I know it's concocted. It's not whole food. It's been manufactured. So yeah, this is a sad state of affairs that we can't go to anybody that has a degree in whole food, plant-based nutrition. And that has to come because we're getting sicker and sicker. We got pandemics going worldwide now because if you look at the world, everybody's eating this stuff called the standard American diet. Everybody's eating it and everybody's getting sick. You know, it's I don't know where we can turn this thing around, but it's not a good place that we're at.
Well,
anyway,
I appreciate Bruce's sharing the Starch Solution book with me, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, Jacqueline. Like you say, you're on a mission to help tell people, you know, about energy. And I think you're right that the younger generation is a little more ready for it. You know, Moses had to take his people out in the wilderness for 40 years, you know, so that those older people who had that Egyptian way of living, that they went away and it was more ready for the newer, younger people. I think that as the younger people see the older generations and they know that this is the first generation where the younger people aren't healthier and maybe even in some ways wealthier than the older ones, that they're, you know, willing to change. And that is actually one of the reasons that I wrote my book. And I tried to word it so carefully. I should have had Hattie Jane write my book with me. But I tried to word it so carefully so that these these unusual concepts were brought, you know, just step by step. I feel like if someone reads my book and they're open, if they're not open, they won't get it because they've already decided, and so they won't get it. But if they can just suspend disbelief, is that what that's called, Sandra? And then just move forward. I really try and explain things in a quick manner, but pretty carefully, because I'm trying to show people the energy is real. And for me, I bring it back to my singing, because that's something we all recognize. We all recognize music, and you've never seen it once. And you never will, you know, but I'm very, very aware of, you know, the different kinds of energies in my body for that, you know, for that thing. And so then I liken it to other energies. Do you liken energy to things that people can understand, Jacqueline?
Well, I do that by making reference to their families and what they've been raised in. When you look at your family, were you raised in a happy-go-lucky family? Or was there hardship? Was there struggle? Were there challenges? Was there fear? In my family, there was fear. And I thought everybody lived with fear. When my husband said, I'm not afraid to get up and talk to crowds of people, I'm like, well, why am I? Well, my mother grew up in Sardinia, Italy during World War II. She was a child. She was like 5 years old. Her father was away fighting the war. Her mother was home taking care of 3 kids on this island with German soldiers walking around. I can only imagine the amount of fear my grandmother felt. And as her children, they absorbed it. And they lived in that 24/7 for years. You don't get rid of that overnight. You don't even understand. They're just surviving. I have a husband and wife who come, and they're German. And we were just talking about this, and they're in their 80s also. And I said, we were just talking about the younger generation. And I said, well, these kids are very empathic. I said, you remember when you were in school and you had a crush? And she said to me, I never had a crush. I was surviving. She lived in Germany 80 years ago, and I said, it really, for the first time, I really understood a part of her that she's never shared with me. So we don't know what everybody's been through, but it's the energy that you're raised in. And was there a lot of perfectionism? Did you have to be good? Did you have to shoulder on? Were you taught, don't cry, get over it? That's nothing to be a crybaby about. It creates who you are. And then you create beliefs about who you are. And then that creates certain circumstances in your life because of those beliefs.
So really, you're a master at having people finding the truth. As when they find the truth, that they're set free. Is that basically what you do? You're a truth finder?
You could say that. I help them uncover the root cause of their limiting belief. And then we reframe that story and that trauma. And they are free of that. And they're creating a completely new life of what's possible.
Yeah. Psychotherapy, close, but you have another way of doing it. But psychotherapy is where you go through the rebirthing or whatever, you go through the catharsis and you come out the other side.
Well, for some psychotherapy, I did psychotherapy for years, and we just talked. We went in circles about talking about things. We never actually healed it and transformed it.
Okay.
So that's what I do with clients, is actually transform it so that in 3 to 6 months, you're a different person. You're having healthier relationships. Marriages are healthier. They're happier. They're finally a team. Your health just improves. There is more hope.
Yeah, if you live a lie, you can't get healed. If you live in truth, then you become whole and you heal. So yeah, you're on a. It's an amazing thing that you're doing. And so where do we find you, and how do we? If I had somebody to send, do you work over the phone, or do you work on?
I do. I work with people all over, and I can leave my website in the chat. It's JacquelineMKane.com. That's my website.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and this is the message I want to get to people. And I think the younger generation, they are so empathic. They sense our pain. They feel our pain. My son would know instantly all the chatter in my head, right? As a mom, I had to figure him out myself. And I knew that I was able to talk to him when I cleared my chaos, I call it, in my head, right? When I was able to be present. I'd have to go into the bathroom or go into a room and tap or just do some energetic clearing on myself so that I could be present with him and so that he wouldn't have to shut down, right? The world is too overpowering for these sensitive kids. They don't need drugs for autism and Asperger's. They need our compassion. They need us to just listen to them. They are actually very, very smart individuals who can help us. We just have to stop drugging them and try to figure out what they're going to help us with.
Well, they've been observing us all our life. So,
And they're not going to do their life the way we've done it. They've watched too many of us work hard 24/7, get to retirement, and then die. They're not going to do it.
no,
Not going to do it.
you got to be open to ask the observer, tell me what I'm like.
Yes. Yes.
That's a tough thing to do.
That's that is.
You mean people would have to parent differently, just like people would have to change their mind, their food and what they like? People would have to be different to be around other people. Right? It's going on in the world right now. Everybody's like, no, my point of view is right. You're wrong. How does that help us? It's not helping.
There's a man that I quote, but I don't quote this particular story in my book. His name is C. Terry Warner, and he wrote a wonderful book called Bonds That Make Us Free, Set Us Free. And his first story in his book has him crossing up the stairs and down the stairs with his 15-year-old son. And he said something to the son, and the son answered flippantly and really rude, as many 15-year-olds do. And what the previous parent might have wanted to say was, you show me respect. You don't talk to me that way, blah, blah, things like that. And this Dr. Warner, he stopped on the stairs and he said, I'm sorry, what have I done to cause that reaction in you? And it so disarmed this young man that he actually told him, well, you always da 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 da. And they were able to have a conversation. And the end of that conversation meant that the father had to shift some of his parenting, and he was willing to do it.
I had to do that with my son. My kids have taught me so much, especially my younger one, my one who was on the borderline. And back then, somebody gave me the book of The Child Whisperer. Oh my God, I forgot her name. But she's the one who has her own profiling system of everybody. And I learned that my son really, if I respect him, he would respect me. And respect was really big for him. So then I had to start advocating for him in school. I had to say, okay, can we please find a teacher who is more of the positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement? It just worked out for everybody, right? As a parent, I don't want to get those phone calls. Your kid did this, your kid did that. I want a parent who's going to work with me. But I had to figure this out. It took years before I figured it out, right? Nobody tells you this. So if we're observant with our kids and our grandkids and the people around us, if we could just zip it for a little bit, say, wow, that's a really interesting viewpoint. Tell me more. So I also shared my Facebook group link in the chat.
Thank you.
But yeah.
You've given us a lot to think about, Jacqueline. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
yeah, and if anybody wants to have a conversation, just contact me and let me know and we'll chat.
Thank you. And we've got your information here. I'm interested in looking into this Facebook group also. We need to, we feel very strongly about creating a community that is more wellness oriented instead of, self-care instead of disease care.
Yeah. And that's a different viewpoint of taking back your health, because every one of us knows what's best for ourselves. We just have to tune into our own inner guidance. And yes, there are times when we need medication and other things, and we're very blessed to have that. But sometimes in this country, we're over medicated. So finding more areas where there is conversation and wellness, not just support and keeping people stuck, but in wellness and evolving and growing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank all of you. I know that everybody is going to take this and then go out and, to our own circles and spread it. So let's
Thank you,
also
Elaine.
thank you for being with us, clear from Connecticut.
Thank you.
Hey, Connecticut, everything's snowy today, I think.
Yeah, stay warm, everybody, especially up in Canada.
Especially
Utah.
up in Canada. And find some people on Zoom or on telephone that you can send that smiling voice to, because it'll raise your energy and it'll raise theirs. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.